Hello, friends! As a follow-up to last week's video about British words I say all the time, today I'm going to talk about 10 British words I avoid saying. To clarify, what I mean by that is, in general, I will translate. If I'm in the US, I use US words, and when I'm in the UK, I use British words. So if I'm talking to someone who's American, I'll say bangs. And if I'm talking to someone who's British, I'll say fringe. But there are some British words I love so much, I say them even in the States. That's last week's video. Today, I'm gonna talk about British words that I just can't wrap my head around. I don't want to say them even when I'm in the UK. So I'm gonna talk about 10 of those words. And to do this, I'm joining forces once again with my friends, Brit Girls Go Stateside, Julie and Lucy, the mother and daughter team in Arizona, who are British women who are married to American men and live in the States. So they have kind of the opposite of my channel, where I talk about British culture from the perspective of an American who spends most of my time in the United States, but also a lot of time in Britain. So to kick off 10 British words that I just don't want to use even when I'm in Britain, I'm going to talk about several that I don't like to use just because they're confusing to me, because that exact word means something totally different in America. So I try to find just a different way to talk about it without using that word. The first one is tights. It took me a long time to figure out that tights in Britain means both tights in the US as well as pantyhose, hose, nylons, whatever we call them. When did y'all figure that out?
Only recently, Dara, because I assumed that pantyhose, which is a strange sounding word to us Brits, encompass the whole range of tights. I guess your pantyhose or hose would be our sheer tight, but we kind of lump everything in together as tights.
The good news is that nobody wears pantyhose anymore. There's really not much occasion that you need to use this word. The second word is torch. I know that a torch is a flashlight in Britain, but I just can't bring myself to say it because I feel like from an American perspective, torch means one of two things. Either you're having a Hawaiian luau and you have tiki torches out in the backyard, or all the townspeople are going to hunt ogres and they've got these sticks with fire on the end. That's what torches are to me, so I just can't call that little app on your phone that makes your phone light up a torch.
When I asked my husband if he had a torch, his face just dropped and he asked me if I also wanted a pitchfork. Because a torch, like you say, is something completely different, and it is quite a strange word. It's almost archaic, it does conjure up those images of a burning stick. But I would argue that flashlight is also quite strange because it doesn't flash unless you're deliberately creating a rave effect. But generally speaking, it's not a flashlight.
Not necessarily accurate. If someone said flashlight to you though, and you were in Britain, would you have known what it was?
I think so, from movies and TV shows, then yes, a flashlight, I think we would know most people.
And I'm going to keep saying it. I mean, I try to be bilingual and accommodate most of the time, but I get a pass occasionally. Okay, another one is saying tomato sauce, or more accurately, tomato sauce for ketchup. I just don't understand this one. I mean, Brits say ketchup, they have the word ketchup. Why would anyone call it tomato sauce? Because tomato sauce or tomato sauce is a thing. That's what you buy in a tin to make spaghetti sauce. So let's just not call ketchup tomato sauce. Why do Brits do that? I need an explanation from you two. Speak for your entire country and tell me why British people sometimes call ketchup tomato sauce.
Oh, the pressure.
Tomato.
I'm not sure I have an explanation. It's just one of these weird things that we do.
I have to say that now I always say ketchup, sometimes tomato ketchup. I find it very hard to say tomato ketchup. So rather than have that, problem, I just say ketchup.
I was in a burger restaurant and I asked for tomato sauce and I got disgusting tomato juice.
Okay, that's hilarious. The next word is flannel, meaning washcloth. I first learned this word from the Squeeze song, Tempted. Ian and I were married. I remember listening to that song, and he commented about how they used the word flannel, and I had never understood what they were talking about in that song. And when he said that a flannel was a washcloth, I'm like, you're kidding. Because flannel to us is a fabric that you make plaid lumberjack shirts out of. I think it's very odd. So again, I have to go back and ask my same question. If I am an American in Britain and I go to a hotel or a store and I ask for a washcloth, are they going to know what I'm talking about?
They'll be slightly confused whether you want to wash your face or wash the floor. Yeah. So I think there would be some confusion. If you said flannel, they would go to the right place in the shop.
And I never use flannels to wash my face, so I can just avoid that uncomfortable situation.
Yes.
Yes.
The next one is the word vest. And I can't wait to discuss this with the Brit girls because I have questions. What I have observed is that the word vest is used for a lot of things, and specifically for undershirts. So an American, when they say the word vest, they're talking about what the Brits call a waistcoat. I'm happy to call a waistcoat, but I just can't call an undershirt a vest. Tell me what all the things are that the word vest encompasses, because I've heard people like a camisole top that a woman might wear underneath another shirt. What is a vest? Is a tank top a vest too?
If it's worn as an underlayer, I would say yes, it's a vest. I think you're right. It's something that we wear because it can get cold and it keeps us warm. I think it's how it's worn. If you were wearing a camisole just as a camisole with nothing else, probably not a vest.
Yeah.
So if you're wearing it as an underlayer, then I think it would become a vest. Other Brits might disagree with me.
Let me be even more specific. White men's undershirts as t-shirts. Literally an undershirt, but it's just worn as a shirt. That kind of a shirt, would you call it a t-shirt or a vest? Or would you ever call it an undershirt?
Undershirt is not a word.
It's difficult because if you purchase it as a vest, then technically it is. But I still go back to this, it's how it's worn. Is it underneath something? Is the main purpose of it to keep you warm?
Yeah, I'm unconvinced. I'm not going to say the word vest. I'm not changing my mind. The word pissed or drunk. To an American, if you say you're pissed, it means you are angry. A British person, if they say they're pissed, it means they're drunk.
It can be for either, actually.
Yes. Although if you say you're pissed off, then you are also angry. Then it becomes an angry thing. But yeah, pissed is usually drunk.
Yes,
right.
yeah.
Right. This is a bit of an easy word for me to avoid because, first of all, I don't drink and I don't often hang out with people who are drunk. So it's not a word I have to say frequently. And for the second reason is that British people have about 100 ways to say drunk. So I think it's pretty easy to use a different term.
Oh, there are lots of terms for drunk. My favorite for being slightly drunk is squiffy.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Not that I'm bladdered or...
That's jolly and drunk, isn't it?
Jolly
Whereas I
and
think
drunk.
pissed is more kind of messy drunk.
Yeah. Well, let's ask the expert, Lucy. What other terms would you use?
There's a comedian who has this joke that says if you're a middle-class Brit, you can use almost any word for drunk and it'll work. So he used the example of trolley. Oh, I was absolutely trolleyed last night. Almost anything will work.
So related to the last term, here is a phrase that I just don't think I could get away with saying, and that's taking the piss or taking the mickey. Because I understand when someone else uses it, but if I tried using that phrase in a sentence, I think I would just sound ridiculous and I would probably use it wrong.
So what would you use instead of taking the mickey?
Making fun of someone. I was making fun of them.
Obviously, taking the mickey is the more polite term. If you're about to say the other word, I would leap in with the word Mickey because that's not offensive at all. The former is a little bit...
It's probably more brutal.
Yes, yeah.
It's more playful, I think.
Playful and cheeky, I would say, yes. But heard a lot in the UK, both terms, for sure. Because we're always doing it, aren't we?
Yeah.
That's kind of our sense of humour. We always take the mickey out of somebody.
Neither of those phrases are familiar at all in the States. If you said you were taking the piss out of someone, it would sound like inserting a catheter in some hospital. That's really quite unpleasant. Speaking of unpleasant, here are a couple words that I don't say just because they're rude or offensive. The first one is the word fag. referring to a cigarette.
So I do have a question for y'all, which is that still used in Britain? Like, is that a current term for cigarettes?
I think it is dying out, if not has died out, because yes, the other meaning is becoming, more well known. We would probably say ciggy or smoke. Do you have a smoke?
I think that Americans are familiar with it from perhaps reading British books that were written decades ago. I did a little survey on a Facebook group that I was on with other Anglophiles, and I said, what British words would you never want to use? And that was the most popular thing they said. So
yeah, understandable.
I'm not using that.
The next word that I just am not going to say because it sounds too rude is cock for a rooster.
I'm not saying that word. And of course, this was relevant to me because it did a whole video about our stay on the farm and I was attacked by a rooster. I will say cockerel. What do you guys think? I mean, I know that cock is definitely a word. It's on like street signs and definitely a word that some British people use. What do you think about how often it's used these days?
Yeah, people do say that word.
Yeah.
We don't say rooster normally. You could say cockerel or cock.
I feel like the word cock is maybe less offensive in the UK, even when it's referring to a man's genitalia. So I feel like maybe that's why we're not so concerned about the word cock, whereas I think in America maybe it's a slightly ruder word.
Yeah, and up north they say "What's up, cock?" As in "What's up, love?"
It's a pet name.
A pet name. So it's not terribly naughty, really, for us.
Funny, I haven't heard the northern.
Yeah,
I just can't see a world in which I would use this and feel normal about it. Saying any joy for any luck.
So here's an example. You're on the phone with a customer service person and you say, okay, I'm gonna go see if I can find my credit card number. And after a few seconds, if they say, any joy? An American would be like, what? Joy? What are you talking about? I'm not having joy. I'm looking for a credit card number.
that is very British and it's one I miss dearly, actually. I do like that one.
And if something goes terribly wrong, you can go, oh, joy. Because it's the ironicness of us British. We love irony, as you know. So that's why we use joy in that way, because it's ironic.
We don't use joy ironically at all, I don't think. So it does sound very bizarre. And I think kind of like taking the mickey, if I tried saying that, I would sound ridiculous and feel awkward.
So you know what would bring me joy? Is if you gave this video a thumbs up. And if you checked in the description to the link to our other video, as well as the Brit Girls videos on American words they say and don't say. And don't forget to subscribe so that we can
See you later.
Bye
Bye
for now.
Do something good in the world today, y'all.